So we were talking earlier about just a client that had been referred to you, and that you were having a conversation with,
Right.
and you had initial conversation with them about just some ideas and some strategies,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And then you kind of left it at that for him to think on and do his own kind of study if he wanted to.
Right.
And then I guess you got a call from him today.
Yeah, I got a call from him a couple of days ago. I'd introduced myself to him the week before from the referral that I'd gotten, and basically just took him through what our planning process is,
Mm-hmm.
and made sure that he identified with it, and it was what was really going to kind of meet his expectations. And initially it did, and then he thought about it over the weekend, and he came back with a request for a telephone conversation because he had a couple of questions that he got to thinking about. And so I said, sure. So we got on the phone today, and his questions really kind of highlighted the fact that I think what a lot of people run into is their kind of their preconceived ideas about what certain things are. It was kind of creating a roadblock for him in his mind, because he thought, I want to understand, because what I told him that we help people create economic opportunity by helping them become more economically efficient. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, it helps them to maintain their lifestyle on less money, which creates new cash flows for them. And if we can identify that in a planning model and bring that to their model to create new wealth, they can do that without any out-of-pocket outlay. Mm. And I told him that what we do and the way we get paid is we take these newfound cash flows to vendors and companies that we have relationships with, and they pay us out of their marketing dollars. Yeah. And that sort of registered with him initially, and when he thought about it, he said he wanted to know, what kind of companies are we talking about? Are you going to just turn me over to a company?
Yeah. Well, because you're telling someone, hey, I'm going to show you how to make your money more efficient. It's going to do more for you, which essentially is like you're putting things in the plus column for them.
Right.
But it's not going to require any more from you.
Right.
Or, and you're going to be able to do it on the same money. So it's like people's brains start to sort of like unravel, because that doesn't compute for most people.
Right.
So they automatically, a flag goes up and they're like, well, what's the angle? Like, what's the catch?
Right.
Like,
how are you doing this?
Yeah, those things don't make sense.
You're right. I mean, a lot of people think about that, and they don't. They're accustomed to, I get something, I pay for something. Mm-hmm. I pay for it. It's going to cost me something that's going to reduce me in some fashion to have that. That's how most people function. Right. But if we create efficiencies that help create more cash flow for them without changing their lifestyle, and that's the key. That's really a key issue. Mm-hmm. And then we can take those dollars that we have found and put them back into their planning model to create more economic growth, more economic opportunity. Then they're really leveraging that strategy to create really significantly new levels of wealth. But he wanted to know where we were going to take these dollars, and were we going to just turn him over to these companies that he wanted to know about the companies. Mm-hmm. And so I told him, I said, it's insurance companies, it could be investment companies that we have specialists, investment specialists that will oversee those executions of investment opportunities. And then he illustrated, he kind of exposed something to me that I think a lot of people deal with, and that is he had preconceived ideas about what insurance was. And he says, I've really got a problem with insurance policies and annuity contracts, because what happens is, and he actually voiced this, he said what happens is most people, they buy these permanent insurance policies that they build cash values in and they use them, and then at the end of their life they die, and then their families get the death benefit, but the cash values stay with the insurance company. And I told him, I said, no, I said, that's exactly why I want to sit down and teach you what we know as a firm. That's why we see ourselves as a teaching firm, because you've misunderstood it, and it's not your fault. It was probably the way it was presented to you
Somebody told you that because somebody told them that, and they didn't really understand how things work.
That's exactly right.
So then it just perpetuates.
Yeah, so I said, if it's properly designed, if a permanent insurance policy is properly designed,
and that's key. I want people to understand that's key.
It is.
That's not just like an insurance professional dropping you in a bucket because like you've got this much money to put. That's not design. Like that's not intentional.
No.
Anything.
It's like selling something off the shelf.
Right.
But if it's custom designed for your specific issues, your specific needs, then a permanent life insurance contract properly designed and positioned in your planning model can be the most powerful wealth creation tool you will ever be exposed to. But I have found that most people, I'm talking about professionals as well as lay people, they do not understand how to properly design and properly position and utilize a permanent insurance contract to create the maximum amount of wealth for you.
Right.
And that's what we're all about.
Yeah. So can we tell people really quick, like what are the like basics of a permanent life insurance contract that achieve what you just said?
Well,
why how can you make the claim that it's one of the most powerful wealth building or accumulation vehicles out there?
There's a concept called economic human life value. And it's basically how much permanent insurance, life insurance, would a major insurance carrier be willing to issue on your life given your particular set of factors, your age, your health, your financial position, your financial wherewithal? What would be the maximum amount that you could obtain? And if you could get that and you could put it into your planning model as the cornerstone of your planning model, then having that permanent death benefit, we just focus on the death benefit for a moment. Having that permanent death benefit will allow you to utilize other assets that you will accumulate over your lifetime in a fashion that will eliminate taxes, that will eliminate risk, and that will create more cash flow, more income flow for you in your life than if you didn't have it, because not having it, you wouldn't use those assets in a way that you would want to use them because you'd want to protect your heirs in the case something happened to you. But if you got the permanent death benefit in place, I always call it a financial coupon. It's like getting a financial use coupon to go use other assets in strategic ways that are going to create more cash flow, less risk, and fewer taxes. And that's really the power of it. It creates more than just I buy an insurance policy and I die and somebody gets some money. It's I've got a strategically placed permanent death benefit in my planning model that creates economic opportunities for me that I had no idea existed.
Yeah, because that death benefit with the permanent life insurance contract never goes away.
That's correct.
You own it forever.
Yes.
Those permanent contracts, those permanent life insurance contracts, they accumulate cash value.
Right.
Where if you're comparing them to a term policy, those don't accumulate any kind of cash value. And it gets, permanent contracts get certain tax treatments, right?
That's
so
correct.
IRS, I guess I would call them favorable tax treatments.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
And you're able to actually borrow against the cash value of those policies, so it's an actual asset that you can then use to reinvest, pay off debt, do whatever you want.
Sure.
With, essentially.
Yeah. It's an asset class that you can utilize to create new assets, create income, and even eliminate taxes. I mean, there are so many strategic uses of it that if people really understood how to use it, they would realize that when I say it is the most powerful wealth creation tool available to us, they would understand that it truly is, because it frees up so many strategic uses of it.
Okay, so I want to circle back to your example and then we'll wrap it up. But so where did we leave off with your conversation with him?
Yeah, we left off with the conversation, which I just told him. I said, Brian, look, this is the problem that most people have. I said, you have a preconceived idea of what an insurance policy does. And And it's only because the ones that you have either been exposed to or you maybe even purchased were designed and presented to you in the wrong way. Because a properly designed permanent life insurance contract should have a feature to it that as you accumulate cash in the contract, which is on a tax-free basis or a tax-deferred, ultimately a tax-free basis, also will cause the death benefit to increase by the same amount of money that's accumulating in the cash values. So that at the end of the day, when you pass away, all the cash values in your contract will go to your family along with the original death benefit. So now you get them, they get both. Mm-hmm. But along the way, you've got so many living benefits that you can use that life insurance contract to create that you really need somebody that strategically knows how to make that happen for you.
Yeah, that's good. Okay, so for those that are watching, I hope you learned something, maybe heard something you never heard before. Go research it, dig it up. Do your own research. But like my dad said, we do consider ourselves a teaching practice. We love to educate clients. We love to make sure they understand the strategies and the approaches that we are presenting to them. And so we hope you learned something. Continue to follow this channel because we're going to be putting out a whole lot more educational content, things that you've likely never heard before that will probably blow your mind but are very real. So thanks for hanging out with us.